A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. This week, Brand Equity is going to take a different turn. We're taking a break from all the COVID-19 programming we've been doing week on week and bringing you the impact on several industries. This week, we're going to be discussing good old advertising, but it's not really good old advertising. It's advertising that's got a purpose, that's got art, and it's as beautiful as it gets. Not just that, this piece of campaign, this project really, has also traveled overseas and managed to win a bronze pencil at the One Show. I'm talking about the 100 Pipers Legacy Project. And to discuss that, I have with me the Chief Marketing Officer of Pernod Ricard, Kartik Mohindra. Very, very happy to be talking to you on this legacy project. Many congratulations on the win. It's no mean feat to have managed to bag a coveted pencil at the One Show. So many congratulations, Kartik.
Thank you very much, Sonali, and thank you for having me on the show.
So just to give my audience a sense of what the legacy project is, could you flash back to the conceptualization of the legacy project, what it involved, and why did a company like yours decide to take this on as something that you felt was very close to the brand's heart?
So there's a bit of history in here, and this is going back a good 6 to 7 years. When we were recrafting the brand's positioning, that was a time when the whole buzzword of today's era of brand purpose just wasn't there. And but what we had felt when we were carving out, we had sensed the insight that the consumer had, especially the top end consumers who had achieved a lot of success in their life, but they had that desire in them to give back to the world in whichever shape, form, or manner as they themselves felt motivated with. And how we manifested that over the years is across several initiatives. We started off with earthquake relief, events and activations and concerts, inviting people to participate in sort of rehabilitating the people affected by those floods in Kerala, so on and so forth. There've been many natural disasters that India has faced over the years, and the brand has been at the forefront of trying to do their bit to support those in need through a lot of its activations. For instance, Play for a Cause, what it's done. So that's what it's been doing over the last few years. And somewhere last year, we actually set up this project called the Legacy Project, where in addition to what we kept doing under Play for a Cause, we also felt that and this idea germinated through our agency OGILVY and Martha, where we felt that instead of coming up with designs for our packaging, which were purely from an aesthetic standpoint, could we layer a sense of purpose in there as well? And that's when the idea came about that as a brand, can we support the dying arts of India? A lot of people probably don't realize that India is a treasure trove of arts. Virtually every state of the country has a unique and differentiated art form, which in today's era is probably losing its a bit of its sheen, and a lot of the talent is getting lost. So that's where we decided to get on board with that, and we commissioned the Legacy Project, and we invited and we surveyed and tried to get into a whole host of such art forms, and we commissioned the artists. We worked very closely with them, and we came out with a series of limited edition collaborations with respect to packaging. And of course, each of those had a story of the artist and the art form and the heritage of the art form weaved into it, which gave an immersive experience for the consumers. And in doing so, not only we came out with the most beautiful, limited editions around, extremely differentiated, but we genuinely felt that we made our little humble contribution towards these particular dying arts.
যেটা আমাদেরকে অনেক দেশ বিদেশে পৌঁছে দেওয়ার চেষ্টাও করছেন।
লেগেসি একটা বংশগত কাজ, যাতে আমার প্রজন্মরা ওরা ধরে রাখতে পারে, সেই চেষ্টা ওদের কাছে আমি রাখছি।
Any country's cultural heritage is the only asset that a country possesses. The rest is all materialistic.
I think it's just something really beautiful and it needs to be treasured.
It is a beautiful way to honor these artists and their legacy and their work.
This project is of immense significance.
Essentially, for the sake of our viewers and of course to educate myself, could you talk about these 6 art forms that the Legacy project touches upon, and what these art forms are, and why did you choose these art forms in particular?
So we went across to the various regions of the country, and our objective was to find art forms that were almost like a family cottage industry that has been passed on by generation by generation, and that's really where they were. And unfortunately, they were not in vogue anymore. So I think fundamentally that's what we
Sure.
were aiming to get to. We did a lot of back-end research on these, and we also obviously needed to find out who actually needed that support the most, for us to be able to make that difference. We then invited a lot of identified these artists, we got them together, we actually did a bit of a joint workshop in there, because we not only wanted, so in addition to promoting the art form, we also wanted to talk about goodness, which again, that's what the brand is talking about. And it was very interesting to get the view of the artists and how they envisioned their art form taking shape with the ethos of the brand. And some of the 6 art forms that we came with, it was very interesting that because of the legacy and the history of these art forms, they had a very close relationship with the world around them. And it was an easy, it was a beautiful fit. For instance, one of them came up with the whole idea of man's relationship with nature and how one needs to protect it. It's been depicted in that particular art piece. Another one had marriage without hierarchy. So true social issues that they were facing, I guess, in their respective parts of the country were also being interwoven and depicted by their indigenous art form, which I thought was fabulous. There was another art form speaking about the balance between animals and earth and how important it was to keep that in the right equilibrium. Equality of gender equality was an important subject. Protecting water, or fresh drinking water, which is again a huge, it's a huge area of focus for us in India, that again has been depicted. And of course, protecting trees as a symbol of life and continuity of life. It was a bit of a combination of these art forms and the story that these artists really wanted to depict together and make that purposeful difference to their social issues that they were facing. And that's really what got the whole collaboration together, and that's really how we decided on which ones to go with.
So what's been the impact, Kartik, and how has the Legacy project ensured and improved the longevity of the art forms you've just mentioned and their communities?
What's really transpired is that the depth of the storytelling on each of these art pieces, and I'm really going to call them art pieces and not packaging material, that would be doing a huge injustice to them. each of these
True.
art pieces are beautiful.
Sure.
And like I mentioned, the individual story behind those art pieces and the socially relevant conversations around them was what really caught the imagination of either the consumer or the viewer. And we launched a massive digital and public relations campaign around that, primarily focused at giving the due to these artists and these art forms and putting them back where they deservedly belong. And I think the response was overwhelming. The kind of traction that we got for all our pieces of communication was phenomenal. And in fact, we are so emboldened by it. Not only the recognition that we've got in international shows, but just the interest that the audience at large has extended towards these dying arts, and it just tells us that in our own little way, we are probably doing things which are good, and we must keep this going. And we hope to showcase a lot more of similar collaborations going forward.
So now that you've won, a big feat like not only appreciation at home, but also appreciation internationally at one of the most coveted international awards. This entire project, got its legs in 2019. I'm assuming if you've already, traveled this path, and have found this great fusion between endangered artists and your brand, and if this fusion can actually get people thinking and provide some kind of renewed livelihood to these artists, nothing like it. Is there a plan forward to take this project into its second phase, or are you looking at that it was a one-off activity?
I think this is arguably one of the early parts of this project, and we're not going to be limited only by finding newer art forms. We will explore several territories of that's the beauty of India. It's just culturally so rich. So there is art forms on one side, there is, we can toy with so many other, let's say, substrates and, many things. So not wanting to reveal a lot of these things at this stage, but there's a lot of work that we are currently in play. And you're going to see very soon the Legacy Project Part 2 in All Its Glory going forward. And we're going to try and keep pushing the envelope every time so that we keep making a bigger difference.
Right. What was the kind of response from, let's say, customers when they saw these beautifully packaged, almost art-like pieces?
The response has been, Sonali, just overwhelming. That I can just describe that in one word. Overwhelming in the sense, the films that we had produced behind it were very technical and very heartwarming films. They were not glitzy, like typically sometimes films need to grab the attention.
Yeah.
But it's really the heritage of the art form, the stories of the people, and the whole purpose behind that art piece was so captivating to the consumer. The viewership of these films was phenomenal. The sort of feedback that people gave was incredible. Peers within the world of advertising and design, they independently saw this through the digital mediums or through their interactions with the brand, and they got back with feedback saying that these pieces are absolutely stunning. They're stunning in their own right as art forms, but when you peel the story, the layers of the story,
Sure.
little by little, it just get so much more empathy with everyone, and that's really where it started coming out as far as the feedback was concerned. So it's a fabulous project for us.
I'm just curious, Kartik, how, now that you're much more knowledgeable about these art forms, how much would, an average painting cost if one had to actually, commission or buy one of them?
There are established and celebrated artists who specialize in these art forms. They're there. So they obviously will charge a particular premium to their art form, and they have every right to do so. But I think the point that we were trying to leverage with this was that there are several communities and several, let's say, villages and districts where this art form resides, and there are so many exponents of this art form over there who are very good, but perhaps do not get the ability to charge the premium that they possibly deserve. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I would encourage people who like this art form to try and reach out to these artists wherever they are and support them in this. And I'm sure that they'll be able to drive. They'll get a great price for what they're going for.
Tell me, during this global pandemic, is there some effort from your end as a company to ensure that you're helping these artists and their communities and their art forms at this time?
Not immediately or not directly as such, and I'll explain why. I think the legacy project part 2 in any case is going to be directed towards helping these particular artists in general. But I think as an organization, Pernod Ricard has been at the forefront of helping everyone. We've had several initiatives during the course of the last 4 months across the length and breadth of the country to try and help as many people as we could to in this particular pandemic. I think one of the first initiatives that we had was to help the people on the front line. And, again, as an organization, there are several initiatives done on that because there are so many unsung heroes out there. Our healthcare workers, our, the police, the armed forces, and, the media, again, also, who are bringing all of this to everyone's notice. There are so many unsung heroes who, throughout this difficult period, have been dutifully doing what they have, I guess, what they are expected to do without any sort of complaint, and they're putting themselves on the front line. I think they are the heroes out there. They deserve all support that one can muster for them right now. And I'm sure in time, once this is behind us, then we can all start boosting our efforts towards helping the others as we go along as well.
Global pandemic that we're in the midst of has been tough on every single individual, rich or poor. As the Chief Marketing Officer of your company, I'm sure there's been intense pressure. You've also been working from home. What are your big learnings that you've had as a professional working from home and managing the environment? I'm sure the learning must have been immense. What are the learnings and the realizations, some of which you'd like to share?
I think first and foremost, what big realization is humility. We can talk about our fancy jobs and the security that we have and the lifestyle. We can also sit back and complain of being locked in for the last 4 months and not be jet setting about like we'd usually do. But I think one must again salute everyone on the front line because they are still doing their jobs and they do not have the luxury of being locked in. So again, I think with a lot of humility, one must accept where we are and try to make the best of where things are. The other thing that I'd like to say, there are a lot of things that we usually take for granted, which has come about, and that largely reflects on our relationships. And that's not limited to a personal sphere. It even talks about our, let's say, our colleagues, not interacting with them in the last 3-4 months,
Absolutely.
and being on one of the either Microsoft Teams or Zoom. We've been trying to keep normal as much as we can under this scenario. Business is extremely tough. It's also we're all developing newer talents as we're going along because we're at home. We don't have things to divert our energy. But I think first and foremost, the most important thing is to try and keep everyone's morale up while we are managing business on the other side, because I think this is now entering into a phase where it's beginning to play on people's minds, and the pandemic is showing no signs of relenting. So I think it's been a mixed bag. I think we'll emerge stronger from it. But I think what it's also given us is a lot of bandwidth to sit back and really think about things that we probably haven't thought through previously, professionally as well, and personal to an extent. And to me, life and business is going to be entering into a new normal phase once we emerge out of it. And I think we've devoted a lot of time to try and come out as front runners in that. The world is going to change for sure.
On that note, Kartik, I wish you all the very best for the Legacy Project Part 2. I hope it takes wings and goes to places that we've not seen before, and also gets international acclaim, and in the process helps Indian endangered artists come up, re-oil their engine and bring them back to a livelihood which is deserving of them. I also wish you health, wealth and happiness, and hopefully when this is all done and dusted, we'll meet soon and celebrate life. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being with us today on Brand Equity.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you once again for those lovely wishes. Thank you.